There's a certain philosophy that only really reveals itself when you spend enough time with a classic car. You don't notice it at first. At first, you're too busy wondering if that noise is normal, or if that smell is new, or if the fuel gauge is lying to you again. But give it a little time, and you start learning something deeper, something you won't find in any manual or workshop guide. Classic cars teach you about the slow lane, not the motorway slow lane. Although, let's be honest, with some classics you're going to be spending a lot of time there too. I mean the slow lane as a way of moving through life, a way of letting things unfold at their own pace, instead of trying to drag them forward like a reluctant alternator bolt. Because classic cars don't do rushing. They don't care how busy you are today. They don't care that you're late for dinner. They live in a world where warming up takes as long as warming up takes. You turn the key, the engine coughs, clears its throat, considers its options, and eventually decides, fine, I'll run today, but only because you asked nicely. And that's where the philosophy begins. In a modern car, you press a button and go. In a classic, you prepare to go. You listen, you pay attention, you learn its moods, you adapt, and somewhere in the middle of that dance, you start realizing how rarely you give anything your full attention anymore. You can't multitask in a classic car. You can't check your phone, adjust a playlist, and send a quick message while flying down the road. The car will simply not allow such nonsense. It asks you, politely, firmly, and occasionally with steam, to be present, hands on the wheel, ears tuned in, eyes on the world, and surprisingly, it feels good. Suddenly you're not rushing, you're not chasing time, you're just there in a moving piece of history, in a moment that can't be hurried. Life stops being a sprint and becomes a gentle roll. Classic cars also teach humility, because nothing reminds you that you're not in control, like a machine built in an era when weatherproofing meant try not to drive in the rain. You can have the perfect plan for the day and your car will respond with, that's adorable. But today we're learning about patience instead. Yet, weirdly, that's where the joy comes from. Not in the breakdowns themselves, we don't have to pretend those are spiritual experiences, but in the way they nudge you into letting go. You can't be in the fast lane when the universe, through your carburetor, is gently suggesting you slow the hell down. And then there's the driving itself, the unhurried steering, the engine note that actually changes when you listen to it, the road you start noticing because you're not flying over it at the speed of regret. Classic cars remind us that slowness isn't laziness, it's clarity. Slowness lets you see the world instead of blur past it. Slowness lets you notice the small things. Slowness makes the journey matter. So yes, old cars leak, squeak, rattle, sulk, and occasionally set fire to themselves. But they also carry a quiet wisdom, a philosophy, a reminder that not everything in life needs to be done faster. Sometimes the best way to get where you're going is to ease into the slow lane, breathe, and let the ride unfold at its own charming, slightly unpredictable pace. You know, people often assume classic car ownership is all glamour and sunny Sunday drives, but anyone who actually owns one knows the truth. It's a spiritual practice, a moving meditation, a slightly oily path to enlightenment, because the first thing a classic car teaches you is patience. Nothing happens quickly, not warming up, not fixing things, not waiting for that part that was in stock last week. You learn to slow down, breathe, and accept that the universe occasionally manifests itself in the form of a seized bolt. And then there's awareness. Modern cars let you drift through a journey half asleep. A classic won't let you get away with that. It whispers, nudges, complains, celebrates. You start listening deeply to the engine note, to the vibration in the pedal, to that tiny new squeak you swear wasn't there yesterday. It's the automotive version of mindfulness, staying present, paying attention, noticing the moment before it becomes a problem. There's humility too. Classic cars do not care about your schedule, your plans, or your ego. They will embarrass you at petrol stations. They will refuse to start when you're trying to impress someone. They remind you gently, occasionally, not so gently, that control is an illusion, and somehow that's freeing. But the real zen is in the relationship, because it is a relationship. You invest time, care, curiosity. The car gives you stories, sensations, a kind of companionship. You begin to appreciate the effort over the outcome, the drive over the destination. You savor the journey because you have to. You can't rush it. And that slowness becomes a gift. So yes, classic car ownership can be frustrating. It can test your patience, your wallet, your sense of humor, but it also teaches presence. It rewards attention. It turns everyday drives into something richer, more textured, more human. And maybe that's the point. In a world running at full speed, a classic car pulls you back into the moment and says, here, be here, feel this, enjoy the ride. There's something classic car owners don't tell you. Well, a few things, actually. Things you only learn once you've lived with one of these old machines, long enough for it to test your patience, your wallet, and sometimes your sanity. First, let's get this out of the way. You will smell like petrol, not in a poetic motorsport heritage way. More like, why does my jacket smell like a carburetor again? It just happens. It's part of the lifestyle. You stop noticing, other people don't. And then there's the moment, every classic owner knows it. You get into the car, turn the key, and there's this tiny pause where you hold your breath and think, come on, please behave today. That split second where time slows down and you brace yourself for either bliss or character building. We don't talk about that moment, but we all live it. And here's another one. Owning a classic car means accepting that strangers will talk to you. At petrol stations, in car parks, at traffic lights, you become a magnet for conversations that start with, my uncle had one of these, or I remember these when I was young. You learn to smile, nod, and enjoy it, because that connection is part of the joy. We also don't mention how emotionally invested we get in the smallest things, a new rattle, immediate heartbreak, a smooth run with no issues, instant euphoria, a sunny day. You're pulling the car out whether you had plans or not. Classic ownership turns adults into hopeful children. Every drive is Christmas morning, but here's the biggest thing classic car owners don't tell you. We don't actually own these cars. Not really. We're just the current caretakers. These machines have outlived owners, mechanics, fashions, governments, entire eras. And somehow they're still here, bending time a little bit every time they start up. We get to be part of that story for a while, a tiny part of a journey that started long before us and will probably continue long after we're gone. See, the secret isn't in the horsepower or the shine of the paint or even the drive itself. It's in the feeling, the sense that you're touching history with your hands, hearing it through the engine, carrying it across roads. It's travelled before. Classic car owners don't tell you these things because, well, it sounds sentimental. And we like to pretend we're here for the engineering and the performance. But really, we're here for the connection, the stories, the nostalgia, the moments when a machine feels almost alive. So if you've ever wondered why people put up with the quirks, the smells, the conversations at petrol stations, the unpredictable starts, it's because these cars give us something modern life rarely does anymore. A reason to slow down, to pay attention, to care about something that isn't disposable. And that's why, despite everything we don't tell you, we wouldn't trade this madness for anything.